Greetings friends and welcome to a very exciting and piratey prop build. Today we're going to be building some pirate swords in a choose your own adventure style format. I'm going to give you the tools and you are going to put together the sword of your dreams, or exactly the one that I produce. Anyways, let's have some fun. Material list. You're going to need some 1/16 inch EVA foam. This can be found at most craft stores as sheets. The longer the better, because if you don't have to have a joint in the handle when we wrap it, all the better. This is cut into roughly 1-inch strips to be able to wrap the handle, which is actually 1-inch electrical gray conduit. When you're going to do this, make sure you sand down the surface to get rid of the gloss, because we'll be gluing directly to it. The blades will be made out of 3/16 inch stone board, found at most hardware stores, but I'll put a link down below to the stuff that I have just so you know what you're looking for. And you need it to be shiny on both sides, because some of it has a roughness on one side. Just got to make sure you get the right one. And finally, you'll need some 1/4 inch EVA foam. This is going to be for the handguard and on the hilt. So, yep. This I got at my local hardware store, and this was an exercise mat. You can order this without this texture, but if you don't, make sure you sand this texture off when you go to build the rest of the prop. Anyways, we'll get into it. Step 1, the blade. You will find this template down below, and using these bullet points, you will combine it from the 8.5 by 11 that it prints into your full-size template. You can stick this to a more permanent piece of wood if you want, if you're going to be making multiple of these, or you can just draw straight using the paper template provided. You'll be tracing it onto the 3/16 inch stone board, and you will end up something like this. Cut it out however you see fit. It can be done with a scroll saw, it can be done with a bandsaw, it can be done with a jigsaw, it can be done with a coping saw. This wood is really soft overall, and it'll allow you to do it with almost any tool that you want. Now, using a pencil and your finger as a spacer, you'll go through and you're going to draw a line all the way up. That's about 1/4 inch. I kind of parallel the edge of the tang here to make sure that it goes all the way through, and then using a sharp utility knife, cut at an angle, taking a little bit at each time. And what you want to do is you want to cut to that line, sharpening the wood. My utility knife is actually getting a bit dull. I can feel it not going through as clean as it did before, because I made like 6 of these things already. So once you've got it to this point, and you're going to go all the way through the blade, you're going to end up with an edge that looks like this. And you'll use some 320 grit sandpaper to polish up the edge and get it all into exact shape of where it needs to be. Once you've got it to this point, you want to sand the top. Avoid sanding this surface. It's nice and finished, and it'll spray paint beautifully. Now, I paint my blades in this dark steel Rust-Oleum. It works out brilliantly, and it doesn't cause the wood to warp, and you will end up with something like that. This has been aged up very, very gently using some varnish, some wood varnish. This happens to be golden oak. And then I used a little tiny bit of black and brown paint to add some age to this. You'll see that you don't want it to be a perfect, clean blade, because it won't be that convincing. Anyways, on to the hilt. Onwards to the hilt. Once again, on the template, you're going to find this lovely little dog bone looking thing. These holes are where the hilt will travel through and allow this thing to bend around and match the contour of the handle. This is where we're going to be using our 1/4 inch EVA foam. And once you've got the template on, you can cut it very simply with a utility knife, because this foam is brilliant and very easy to work with. Now, when you go to cut these, I just have the holes poked. I don't want to go super big with these. I just want to do them enough where there's a bit of friction fit when you go to actually put these into place. And you see how nice and clean everything is for me. That's how I ride. Reach in with your fingers, pull those pieces out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this, you're going to feed it onto, oops, wrong way. You're going to feed it onto your sword blade, like so, all the way up. You're going to take the second one. Once it's all sanded, like once you've got it all done and sanded down, because that's what you'll go here, get this to exactly the style that you want. You can use a Dremel to round these edges and make sure you get rid of that texture on the back. Once you've got it to this point, you want to put it to about here, actually a little bit closer to the edge like that. And then if you have access to a heat gun, heat this up. And what it's going to do is it's going to shrink all of the pores, and it's going to lock the profile of this into this D shape. It also means a lot for painting, which we're going to do right after. So you see how that reverted back to its original shape? So you're going to be putting on a coat of this high gloss, well I did, a high gloss paint onto this hilt. Once it's all heat treated, let it dry, and we will move on to the handle. Now, as you're waiting for the hilt to dry, you're going to get some Super 77 glue and spray our hilt. This will get it nice and tacky, and you're also wanting to spray very gently the back of the other EVA foam that we're going to wrap it with. Starting about here, because you need to make sure you have enough to wrap around the top. I made this mistake far too many times for my own good. Now, assembling the sword is really straightforward. You take your hilt that is all painted up, make sure that the round part of the hilt is going to the blade side. You slip that on, bring that up to where you need, take your handle, slip it on. If you have looseness here and it's not as tight as you would like it, you can use a little bit of tape to wrap around here to tighten the whole thing up. If that comes into an issue, then you're going to take this, you're going to stick this onto the bottom like so, and everything should line up to give you a really cool looking sword hilt. Now, I just used some wood glue and I put it onto the top here to make sure this holds together. And then you can go through and choose whatever pommel you want. I've used the buttons like these, but larger. You can even use the small ones. I use skulls. I've used ping pong balls, like half ping pong balls. It's up to you. Regardless, I'm going to go through. I'm going to quickly grab the paint to age this up, and I'll show you the last steps here to get this into your finished version of a sword. All right, this is how it looks when we've got it all aged up. All I pretty much do is I add black on random places on the blade that I think looks good. And on the hilt, I went through and I just added some black here, wherever I thought it looked good. It's not an exacting art form. You can put some black on the actual hilt itself, or the handguard. Now, up here, once you've got all of your paint done, I took a satin Rust-Oleum spray, and I sealed this. This is why it's so shiny. In reality, the best color that you could use would be a gloss version of this, but I only had satin on hand. But regardless, it turned out really nice, and the sword blade looks fantastic. Now, the best part about this whole build now is these swords are really quick to build, and you don't have to worry about being specific about how you go about making them. You can go through and you can add all the different versions of the hilts, the pommels. You can even change the blade. You could make the blade shorter. You can make the arm guard wider. It is up to you on how far you want to go. You can even be stupid and make a huge, completely crazy blade like this one. It's up to you to have fun and build as many of these things as you want, because really they do go so quick. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed hanging out and making these awesome pirate swords with me. It's a great project for you to do. It's easy enough so you can do it with kids, and the end result is a light prop that is great to be used on like your props. That'll be, the weight isn't there in order to make things too heavy. They look fantastic and they're so cheap to make. Anyways, a big thank you to my viewers, my subscribers, and a big thank you to my patrons who send me a little bit each month. Have a good one all.